Hey everyone, it's Saoirse, and today we're going to talk about another poetry collection. The thing I love about going into a bookstore and finding a random new poetry collection is that it's a great way to discover a new author without committing a ton of time and energy into it, because for me at least, it doesn't take very long to read a short collection, not as long as it would take to read a novel. So, I usually feel pretty good that I did it. I don't think I've ever picked up a poetry collection and been really mad that I spent an hour on it. Today we're going to talk about Is It Poetry by Toshiko Hirata. This was published in 2004 in Japan, and then it was translated in 2024 into English, so that took a long time. I wish these things didn't take so long, and again, I'll keep saying it, I wish I could read Japanese, and in this book you have the Japanese on the left page and the English on the right. I loved this. I really loved this, the whole style, everything. So let's read the back here. Oh, and I forgot to say, I bought this in San Francisco at Dog-Eared Books, and that store was just lovely. I think I got 4 books there. Okay, produced on the same day each month over the course of 2 years, every poem in Is It Poetry, a pun also meaning the 7th day in Japanese, is a window into everyday life in Japan. Toshiko Hirata's poems evoke awe and light in the daily minutiae of contemporary life, achieving both prosody, sorry, that's a word I don't know, and narrative cohesion colored by her dark yet warm artistic sensibility. Beloved and awarded in Japan, Hirata possesses an extraordinary ability to turn an ordinary event, like an old man cycling through a park, into a journey that elucidates something profound. This translation offers entry into a busy Tokyo brimming with puns, imagery, sounds, and whimsy, and asks what it is to be cherished, feared, loved, and what is not. Ooh. Okay, let's look at a couple things in the afterword. The title of the series is pronounced Shinanoka, strictly meaning poems on the 7th day. However, Shinanoka also means is it poetry. So in addition to referring to the task of writing a poem on the 7th of each month, Shinanoka, I have no idea how to say that, sorry, Shinanoka is also anticipates the critical question, is what you wrote actually poetry, asked almost immediately after the series debut. I added the 7th day caveat to the series after publication of the first poem. I just liked that explanation because it frustrates me so much how many things are lost in translation, and the fact that the title itself is like a pun that we had to change for English and it made more sense in Japanese. I just wish I could read the original. And here she says, before the series debut, I also had to struggle with the question of whether or not I was actually writing poetry. When I look at it today, for better or for worse, it does seem to be poetry, and with a sigh, I accept that it is. At this point, I'm not even sure what poetry is anymore. I love that. Because especially if like your background is in academia, you can get really bogged down with what constitutes each type of literature. Is this poetry? Is this literary? Is this genre? And it can be so freaking limiting. And I've had it with that. I'm loving reading things that are more experimental and pushing boundaries and just not stuck up their own butt about what they need to be to qualify as something. So I love that she's even looking at her poetry and thinking, is this poetry, when she's a very successful poet. I'm just not one of those people that's ever going to be like, well, it doesn't do this, that, and the other, and it doesn't follow this rhyme scheme, and it's not a like sonnet, so it's not poetry. Any words can be poetry if you say that they are. Okay, we're gonna read a few lines, maybe a few full poems, we'll see. This is from Is It February, so all the poems are, is it January, is it February, and so on. How can I make it so I never lose anything again, never gain anything? Let me read that one more time. How can I make it so I never lose anything again, never gain anything? I just liked that line. This is from Is It March? And she's talking about how she's written something and it's like it feels like it's never going to be ready. Excuse me, I know it's not reasonable, but changes at what level? At this late date, we booked the park at night, we've changed the date once. If we wait until I'm satisfied with my own script, there'll be no opening night. No opening night. And that really hit me because anybody who creates anything, any kind of art, for me, writing, it is really hard to know when to let it go. And the second you do, you're going to think of a million ways that you could have made it different and better. And so this is something I've been saying to myself. If I keep waiting forever for this to be perfect, it will never be seen by anybody else because there's no such thing as perfect, and perfect is completely subjective when it comes to art. So you really just have to trust and let it go. Okay, I wrote in my notes, what does this mean? So maybe you can help me. I just liked this. So she's talking about how she has to write this novel and a short story and all these poems for this book. It says, along with the 170-page novel and the 20-page short story, I also have to write this 50-line poem. Skimming 20 pages from myself for a short story turned out to be impossible. But stealing 50 lines for a poem should be easy as taking 50 cents out of a wallet containing $17,000, but you can't pull coins out of banknotes. And maybe at the time I had an idea of what that meant, and now I've forgotten, but I want to know your interpretation. That line just really struck me. You can't pull coins out of banknotes. Like, you're trying to get something out of a place where it doesn't exist, because I guess when you're writing a novel versus a short story versus poetry, you can't expect the process to be the same for everyone. And I don't know. I'm just gonna leave it. Oh, my mother's here. Goodness me, I am not ready at all. We are going to see Beauty and the Beast in the park tonight. Okay. Pitter-patter, rain that had stopped starts falling. Pitter-patter. 3 discarded umbrellas hang by their necks from an elementary school's chain-link fence. I reach my arm out, think about taking one, change my mind, draw it back again. A woman has the right to get wet walking in the rain. Ooh, that was probably my favorite line in the book. A woman has the right to get wet walking in the rain. I just wrote, yes. It does not matter how other people perceive us or what our roles in society are supposed to be. We have autonomy if we want to get wet in the rain. Who cares what that looks like to other people? Who cares if it looks like, oh, that lady forgot her umbrella, how silly, or how gauche of her to come in here wet. That was just such a beautifully empowering statement of freedom and making your own choices. Once at the house of my friend who had a rabbit, I asked, how long do rabbits live? Around 5 years. How old is yours? 3 years old this year. They understood I was doing the math in my head. Subtraction is cruel, but asking the question even crueler. I liked that succinct way of bringing up something that happens all the time, doesn't it? Like, any time you meet somebody with a pet, like, one of the biggest questions people ask is how old is it? And you can see, if it's a cat or a dog, where people tend to know the lifespan, like a natural lifespan. We are doing the math. They're doing the math. And it's such a sad, cruel thing to think about when you have this glorious creature living here, giving so much to your life, and you're just kind of counting the numbers. My mom has a cat, and we have no idea how old he is. And it scares me, but it's also kind of beautiful. Because we have no idea. I mean, you never know how much time you have. Obviously, you never know that. But with him, we don't even have a way to guess. Oh, my mother is going to knock on the door. Okay, we only have one more poem here. So, let's see, this is in Is It October Again? And I'm going to read this whole one. I can still smell the sweet olive tree. No warning signs a day earlier, but when I opened the window on the 1st of October, I smelled sweet olive wherever I went. It was like the trapped fragrance was let loose, lifted, swirled around me. The day my cat got hit by a car 13 autumns ago also smelled of sweet olive. Since then, I get sad every year at the smell. This year, the smell was lovely. Does this mean I'm starting to forget her? Her body pure white. Each time I saw a white cat, I thought, is that her? I used to see her in every white bag. I used to see her in every white pillow. I had to force myself to say, that's not my cat. But I'm not doing that so much anymore. On Mount Fear, the ground is white like scattered bones. The smell is hot sulfur, springs trickling from summit to ground, dry ground mottled yellow, water gone. The shrine at Mount Fear is a quiet place, only one oracle, so there's a line in the shrine corridor. 4 women, no longer young, wait their turn, sit sideways. I join them, sideways and silent. The oracle inaudible on the other side of the glass. I hear some people are visited by their father's living spirits. If so, why not a dead cat? Is she willing to take form, to come back? Could I take her home, if only for us to catch up, enjoy sweet olive together? Yeah. We never forget our feline companions. They're always, always, always there. In nature, in our hearts. They're part of us. I thought that one was really, really beautiful, and I related a lot. So we are going to leave it at that, and I highly recommend this collection. I hope you check it out. And we've got another poetry collection with a black and white cover next time. So many of those. I didn't even realize till I finished these 3 books that they were all black and white. Anyway, until then, happy reading.